Hey now, Brawlers, it's time for another Board Game Brawl review with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com.
Hey people, today we're going to take a look at Mad Science Foundation. Not Mad Science Foundation. I always get tripped up on that. From Cryptozoic Entertainment. This is a little game, actually, was on my top 10 anticipated games of Gen Con list before I knew it was actually going to come out before Gen Con. So there you go. But kind of very different from a lot of other Cryptozoic things that they've produced. It's not based on anything. It's just this little quirky game that I thought looks very interesting. It's a competitive game where you are, as the name implies, mad scientists, or mad scientists in training, I should say, who are trying to create these different comical weapons like laser beams to destroy the moon and so on and so forth, or to write cha on the moon. Let's see how many people get that. But trying to do these things by getting different elements and resources, and also by manipulating some of the different characters, let's say, of the Foundation, like a spy and a sassy robot. I love Sassy Robot. And so it reminds me of Fallout. So you're trying to do all these things in order to get your inventions built, and of course have the most points. I think it's called infamy or fame by the end of the game. Now, of course, that's easier said than done. And this game uses a very interesting mechanism. This is, in fact, what drew me to the game, where one player every round is going to be the crooked director and is going to be allocating all of these different resources and bonuses into different piles, and then letting the other players choose first. Now, that sounds very weird. This has been in other games before, and I'm going to illustrate it for you right now. We'll do a quick overview, then we're going to come back. I'll let you know what I think.
Mad Science Foundation is a competitive game for 2 to 4 players. The goal of the game is to have the most infamy points by the end of the game. You gain infamy by building and using certain inventions, fulfilling your quirk cards, and gaining control of the Sassy AI card during the course of the game. The game ends when the entire invention deck has run out. To set up, every player randomly gets a quirk card face down. You cannot show this to the other players. It basically gives you an additional way to score at the end of the game, based on inventions or resources. Every player gets a headquarters card and the corresponding scoring token that goes next to the infamy track for now. These are basically starting inventions, and so are at first turned sideways because they're not actually built yet. To build an invention, you need to discard the resource cards depicted at the bottom of the card, and then you will write the card and gain the ability at the top. The invention deck will be shuffled up and drawn from during the course of the game. Other inventions follow the same rules, but will have more elaborate effects. Some have industrial or knowledge symbols, which are important for 2 of the quirks and for scoring at the end. There are 4 types of resources, some rarer than others, that will be shuffled into a deck. Together with those resources will be 4 minion cards, corresponding to 4 standees. When minion cards get drawn from the resource deck for the first time, they remain in play as a reward that will always be divvied up. Every minion has a different effect. The Crooked Director standee actually starts with the randomly chosen first player and moves clockwise from round to round until her card is drawn from the deck. After that, she always goes to the person who gained her in the rewards. What the card does is force you to be the director and therefore divvy up the cards each round. The Sassy Robot just gives you 2 infamy points when you gain him. The Truckload of Cash can be used in place of any resource on the round that you acquired it. The Spy can be placed on an opponent's invention, either an unbuilt one to keep it from being built, or a built one to keep its ability from being used. There's one more minion that follows special rules. The Overworked Researcher's ability forces a second invention to be added every round. In a 2-player game, this card is not used. In a 3-player game, he's placed at the bottom of the resource deck and stays in play permanently as soon as he's drawn. In a 4-player game, he starts off in play right off the bat. The game has 2 phases. In Phase 1, whoever is the Crooked Director will draw a certain amount of resource cards based on the number of players, which must then be divided into piles equal to the number of players. Added to these rewards are 1 or 2 invention cards and every minion card that had previously been drawn from the deck. The director for the round must have at least 1 card in each pile for each player, but other than that can craft the piles in whatever way they deem fit. Once the piles are locked in, the player to the director's left gets the first pick, and then it goes clockwise until it gets back to the director, who gets the last pick. So there's a bit of a psychological game going on here. If you really want a particular resource or minion card or both, you need to craft the piles in such a way as to make other piles more appealing to the other players, because you're going to be picking last no matter what. When you gain resource cards after this, they go face up in your area, as do invention cards, which start off sideways and unbuilt. Minion cards will activate immediately. A new director is chosen if that card was acquired. The spy locks down an invention of the new controller's choice. The sassy AI gives 2 points to its new owner, and only the truckload of cash hangs out for a moment and will be activated during that person's turn. Phase 2 is all about building and activating your inventions in any order. Only one invention can be built each round, but you can utilize the abilities of as many inventions that you've already built as you like, although each one only once per round. Discard resources to build the invention, as well as any you may need to spend for activations. Some activations are also one time only, and then the invention is discarded. The point of all of this is to get as much infamy as possible before the end of the game, which is when the invention deck runs out. That is Mad Science Foundation.
Is Mad Science Foundation an amazing game? No. It does have some things that are holding it back. It's a little bit uneven. Its balance is questionable, though I hesitate to say that until I've played it like 100 times. But I will say that I will be playing it again, because I enjoyed the core mechanism of the game, as well as the somewhat silly theme that's there. I do believe that the benefits of Mad Science Foundation outweigh the negatives, which really aren't all that bad. But let's go right into that by talking about the components. And Cryptozoic has never been known for having like amazing components. Not really. I know that some of their Kickstarter projects have really great miniatures and things, but as far as just the ones that they put out to the market, the card quality is not great. The token quality is certainly not great. They did go for an interesting art style for the invention cards and for the resource tokens, but I feel like it also just looks really cheap. So I do like the sense of humor on all of them, if you want to throw that in with the components part of the discussion, but they just look kind of bland and dry. I like the character designs for the scientists themselves and for the sassy robot and spy, the director and all that, but there's not enough of that really high quality art. By the way, I think this is the same artist that did the art for I Hate Zombies, from the Board Game Geek card game that's awful, but looks really good. I think it's the same artist. So I really like that art style. There's just not enough of it. It's very small, even on the character cards, on your little quirk cards. So I wish there was more of that. So it doesn't look fantastic, but it could be worse. As far as how the gameplay goes, and that's what the main thing we're going to talk about, the whole how do you say this? I put into piles, you pick, and then I get the last pick. That whole core mechanism, I love it. It's so great. It's so mind-racking and frustrating, but just in the right kind of ways. And that's a really hard needle to thread, and I do believe that Mad Science Foundation has been able to do that in a sufficient enough way to make it very, very entertaining for me and for some of the other people that I played with. It's just this balancing act of, okay, I need to build these things, and I need to activate these abilities. And that's the other thing, too. You're juggling building things, but which are not necessarily going to get you points. It might, depending on what your quirk is, but you really want to be using abilities that give you points every single round, hopefully. So you're juggling all these different things of what you want to build and what abilities you want to use. So you always need resources. But there's a finite amount of resources, and people are constantly counting the tokens to see what they've got. So now it's like, okay, are these resources really going to make it back around to me if I make this pile? Someone's going to take that. So, okay, let's make it so that it's not as appealing to them. Or that this one is more appealing to them. Like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, so maybe you will end up with that shark token you desperately need. And there's interesting aspects, too, that sort of come out as you play. Like, you discover that, oh, I thought I wanted to be the crooked director because it gives me power. But also, it's kind of great to be the second person to get the first pick after the director. And you find yourself really avoiding that like the hot potato in most situations. And in that case, it's like, well, I'll throw the crooked director with this thing that I really want so that the next person will be like, oh, man, I really want that, but I don't want to be the crooked director. So you might get stuck with the crooked director again, but by doing that, by making it that unappealing to other people, you might get the resource that you want. I love that. The idea of the spy is a whole interesting mix because, hey, having the resources to activate your one device, like the shark cannon or whatever, that gets you a bunch of points is great unless someone is locking it down every turn with the spy. So now, do you want to take the spy, even if it's otherwise unappealing to take that pile, just to make sure that you can do your shit? It's such a great thing. And also, like the sassy robot, do I get automatic points? It's just points, but points are great. And there's not a huge point spread in this game. A huge point spread. It can be higher depending on the game that you play, but for the most part, you're talking about into the 30s and 40s, things like that. And in that case, 2 points can be, and it's always a close game, the games that we played. So 2 points can be huge. But are you going to get something better if you don't take that? So lots and lots of interesting decisions to make with making those piles. Now, having said that, it can be very frustrating. The frustration aspect can at times overwhelm the positive aspects at times. Again, it is no fun to get stuck with the crooked director just because you might have the third pick. Well, I'm talking about if you're in a third player game. You might have the last pick, whatever the case might be. And in that case, you're like, well, I'm the crooked director again. What can I do about it? And now I'm not going to get first pick again. And now it gets really nerve-wracking because I need to get points, I need to get points, I need to get points. How do I get this thing that I want and make sure no one else takes it from me? That can be an impossible needle to thread at that point. If I use that expression one more time, I get a prize. So I don't know what to say in that situation. It's just one of those things that comes with the game. But I do think that the fun aspects of that outweigh the bad aspects of it. The quirk cards are another problematic aspect of the game because some of them are just way out of whack. I remember in the very first game that we played, my quirk was you get pick another player. You get points for every unbuilt invention they had. But most everyone was building all their stuff, and it's not a lot of points even if someone doesn't build a lot of their stuff. Whereas someone else is like, well, I'm getting points for every single one of these symbols I have, and oh, look at that! I got all the symbols! And that's a huge point difference. Again, we didn't play any game of this that was like way out of whack as far as final points, but it can even like a difference of 5 to 8 points. That person, you can pretty much tell at a certain point, like the midway through the game, they're probably going to win. Even if other people can keep pace with that amount, they're probably going to come out on top. And you can kind of know that. And that leads me to the final problem with the game that is probably the most significant one. It outstays its welcome. It's a fun game. I enjoy it greatly, but it's way too long. It's better with the minimum player count, it's 3, right? 3 is the minimum. No, 2 is the minimum. That I probably wouldn't do. I haven't played it with 2 players. I played it with 3 and 4, but 3 has enough interaction without keeping things too slow when you get to 4 players. There is some scaling things with the guy who keeps double inventions coming out of your rounds, but which he starts off and play with a 4-player game. Nevertheless, the whole decision-making process, trying to decide the piles, just gets exacerbated when there's more cooks in the kitchen. I would definitely say 3 is the perfect number for this, and even at that, it's too long. The box says, I think it says 30 to 45 minutes. Nah, I think it's an hour or more, especially for your first game. You might cut that time down, but that's only if people are taking it very frivolously. But this is a game that can be very stressful, despite how easy it is to learn and easy it is to get into. So it's a kind of a mixed bag in some areas, but for me personally, I fell down on the side of really enjoying it. Very fun, quirky game. I was very surprised by it. I wish some aspects of it were different, but nevertheless, I think that for people who want something lighter but still have some decision-making and some edge and bite to it that can be kind of mean in a way, kind of a backwards, like backhanded kind of way, you should definitely thread this needle. I got it! Doesn't make any sense, but check out Mad Science Foundation. I enjoyed it. That's from Cryptozoic Entertainment.
Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.